How about now, Brown Cow? There we go. All right. Sometimes if I'm gone, we just, get some technical difficulties. This person has no sound on YouTube. Appreciate you guys. Good looking out. So I'll start over, and we got more people on here now, so you'll get the full meal deal. So this week, we went to Swell, and then we went to Futurist. And I was just talking about Swell, but when you couldn't hear me, there was more people there than any year that I've been before. So we went to Dubai 2 years ago. We went to Miami last year. Went to New York this year, and they're actually going to have Swell there again in New York. And word on the street is that they're going to merge it with another event yet next year. We'll see if that actually takes place, but it'll be the 10th year for Swell next year. This year's the 9th year there in New York, and they had like star-studded lineup. Brad did an interview with a gentleman that's on Trump's cabinet and is in a large, I can't remember the name of his position, but very articulate and very bullish on XRP. I was glad to see that. So he's head of digital assets. I think as Bo Hines stepped down, he's now in the position of digital assets, not the crypto czar, but like over the digital asset side of things. Very well spoken, previous NFL player for a short period of time, and then has prolific career in finance, and then eventually got pulled into government work, and was really impressed with his ability to articulate what's going on in digital assets, what he's looking for in digital assets, and where things are going. The other thing that I want to say about this year at Swell that was very different than the previous 2 years that I've been there is all the people that spoke this year, well, not all of them, but many of the people that spoke this year gave specific timelines on things for when they thought things would be implemented over the next 3 years in markets and with different technologies and different applications, distributed ledger technology and blockchain in particular. A lot of them discussed AI and the convergence of many things, but as far as financial markets and tokenization of that, we're looking at 26 to 27, somewhere in there. And super bullish for XRP. I know you guys have watched the domino theory. If you haven't, please go back on the channel and check it out. The final piece of the domino theory is them starting to use Project Ion. Project Ion was developed by the DTCC and R3. The first day, they had president of NASDAQ came and spoke, and guess what she said? The first place that they're going to be utilizing blockchain for the stock market is for back-end settlement and reconciliation for the messaging. So they're not going to be tokenizing stocks first. They're not going to be doing that piece. That's going to come later. They are going to be settling the back end with the DTCC using distributed ledger technology and reconciling all of that data, which is exactly what I've been saying all year long for how XRP gets to very high prices. So that was really exciting to hear that is the first thing that they are going to do in alignment with what I've been talking about for a long time. And in addition to that, they had State Street up there. They had BlackRock. They had BNY Mellon. Spoke with Citi while we were there. I spoke with Bank of America while we were there. Many other large banks and institutions, fintechs, other people developing in the ecosystem. A lot of Ripple partners and people that have received grants or investment from Ripple were there. They're building exceptional apps on the XRPL. Also super excited about some of the DeFi additions that they're going to be bringing to the XRPL. I didn't get to watch the full panel with Ashish and Arrington and David Schwartz, but the little bit that I did get to watch was fantastic. Them talking about Evernorth, which is their DAT. Haven't finalized the SPAC on that yet. They've changed the ticker, but it's not trading. They haven't finalized the actual acquisition of those XRP by the company. I think that could probably get stretched out till early next year before they actually close on that transaction. especially with the government shutdown and everything else that's kind of transpired here. And on that topic, we don't have the Clarity Act. I don't think that we're even going to get the Clarity Act this year. People seemed bullish on that. The gentleman that Brad Garlinghouse interviewed, again, head of digital assets for Trump, he, stated that they're pushing things along as fast as they can, but he did not give us a timeline that it was going to be passed this year. So I think they could push the Clarity Act all the way into 26. Once the government, comes back up here, a lot of them are going to be preparing for midterms. And I don't know that we're going to get some legislation passed here at the end of 25 for the Clarity Act. And I think that's on purpose. Again, there's only one digital asset that has actual clarity here in the US right now outside of Bitcoin, and that is XRP from the lawsuit with the SEC. And community night, I was unfortunate. I did miss that. We had to leave at about 4 or 5 p.m. from New York to make it to Miami to be able to speak on Thursday. And so I missed out on community night there, but it looked like it was an awesome time for everybody that participated in that. Shout out to Ripple for putting on XRP community night for people there in New York. I think there was a lot of people that were excited about that. And again, there was a lot more people from the community that are professionals that participated in Swell this year than any year before. They had almost 500 attendees this year at Swell. In the past, it's been closer to 300. And I think most of those people were, and I can tell you, many of them took photos with me, and it's surreal to have people stop you and know who you are and be excited to see you and shake your hand. And anyway, I just feel super grateful and blessed after going to the event and seeing all the great people there. And then same thing at Futurist. We had people show up in droves to come see me speak and meet me there at Futurist. Just big shout out to everybody from the Mastermind that showed up there. It's cool to see the community come together and do things outside of stuff that we put together. I've seen a lot of people put together dinners and other activities outside of just what our group orchestrates. And that's a long-term benefit that you're going to get from the Mastermind. You're going to meet a lot of other people there that are in your neck of the woods that have aligned interests that are also going to be very wealthy, and you can go do fun stuff together, and everybody can pay their own way, right? So if that sounds cool to you, if you want to be part of a community that has aligned interests and good culture and has over 9,000 people in it at this point, which just blows my mind, we would love to have you. On the other side of a $10 XRP, we are going to shut it down and close access to the Mastermind. It'll be invite only, and it will be very expensive. So if you want to get in before that happens, you can go to beyondbroke.com and use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2 in Carbon One or Social. It's month to month, no contract. If you want to hang out and be there, awesome. If it's not for you, also totally okay. We understand it's not for everybody. So anyway, shout out to everybody from the Mastermind that did come to that event. And then we're also here in Dallas this weekend for the Laughlin event, Magnify Your Wealth. I will be on stage tomorrow speaking a couple different times. One will be a Q&A panel, and the other one will be talking about estate planning for your digital assets and what that looks like, using the Rockefeller method and insurance and infinite banking and a lot of the stuff we do with our very wealthy clients to make sure that they protect their assets, grow their assets, and they're able to, pass those on to the next generation with no tax implications. So I think they're sold out at this point. I don't think that there's any more tickets for this event, but we will probably do this again with them next year, and really excited to be a part of this one for the first time. So, if you are here in Dallas and you're going to be at the event tomorrow, look forward to seeing you. I know we had a lot of people from our team there at the event today, and a lot of other people from the Mastermind that texted me and told me that this is one of the best conferences. They've learned a ton, and they feel like tomorrow is going to be even better. So super excited for all that. And you guys will get to follow along for this week. I did get my guy to vlog the whole thing, so we'll put a video up on YouTube as well. Did more like a day in the life today, and you get to see that I have back-to-back calls pretty much the whole day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Actually, it's earlier than that. I start about 7:30 most days, right after I drop my kiddo off at school. I'm running the whole time. So, other news, got some big things coming next week. Super excited about that. Can't let you know what those are just yet, but I think you're going to be as excited about them as I am when we do get to announce them. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into the questions tonight. We normally do these on Mondays and Wednesdays, but because we were traveling, weren't able to make it this week. And yeah, we should be back to our regular schedule next week. We got Diliano. They say, shout out to you and Mrs. Jake, all the way from Singapore. Very cool. Thank you so much. I say thank you for always taking the time for us. I'm always in the campfire sessions. Should I set up an LLC here in Singapore and move my XRP over? Singapore is a fantastic jurisdiction for tax advantages and protection of your assets. I think an LLC in Singapore would be fantastic to be able to manage your digital assets and provide you those additional benefits. And if you want to work with us to be able to manage your XRP and get access to returns on it, as well as lines of credit and potentially some other really cool stuff here in the near future, we would love to work with you. And thank you again for the super chat. Honest Aim, my man, good to see you. He said, Mr. Legacy, thanks for creating the products and services for us small XRP millionaires. Hi to the tea lady. I see you took a picture with Brad Garlinghouse at New York Swell. What did you guys talk about? So that I actually didn't get to see Brad this year. The picture that was posted that's going around is from last year at Swell. And last year, he shared the nugget that they were going to announce ROUSD. But unfortunately, the NYDFS hadn't approved everything for them, and so they were going to have to postpone that announcement. This year, they did announce that ROUSD surpassed $1 billion minted on chain, just about 10 months after the launch of ROUSD earlier this year in early January. And they also closed 100 million ledgers on the XRPL, same time as Swell. So some really huge milestones for Ripple and the XRPL over the last week. And I don't think it's slowing down. I think the noise is only going to get louder in the coming weeks. One of the things that they also did let slip there at Swell is they do expect the ETFs to go live next week. XRPC, Canary Capital, posted that a little bit earlier today also. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. With the government shutdown, if the government comes back up early next week, it could kick the can just a little bit further on those also. We got I'm XRP'd. He says, Jake, the man with the plan. How do I sign up for Laughlin Services with my LLC? The link was provided via email a few months ago. No longer works. I would just email our team and we'll get you going. I do think it is $1,000. So you just re-up, you basically pay for your annual deal and the corporate veil service, and they will get you going. They have scaled up their business substantially. I know that there have been some delays in getting back to people here recently. I feel like I say that often, which is not good. We're doing our best to scale and meet demand. But if you would give us some grace and get back to you, but you can just email support@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and our team there will get you the new link to be able to work with Laughlin on your LLC. We got Atlantic Living. They say, Jake, you, Max, and Aaron attending Alan's January event. We're planning on it. We actually just saw him there in Florida. Shout out to the Staple crew and Alan. Sorry I missed you. They pulled me away and I did a couple other interviews and then I had to get ready to leave and wasn't able to get time with him. But he did one with Max Avery. And so I think that should be posted here in the near future as soon as they get back from whatever event they were at. So shout out to those guys and looking forward to their event in January. We got JV. They say, thanks for everything. Thank you for the super chat and being here, man. He says, what's your opinion on the growth prospects of XRP in Evernorth Treasury? Have some cash sitting in my IRA. I think that that's a great opportunity. I think that there could be some other plays coming in the near future on the stock market that might be to market a little bit sooner than them, with the ETFs and maybe another treasury company or something. So, up to you. But I'm really excited for Evernorth. Again, that panel with Ashish and David and Arrington, like they're going to be seeding a lot of these DeFi protocols on the XRPL to be able to generate returns on the XRP and be able to pay some pretty good dividends to people out of that DAT and continue to compound XRP over the long term. So a lot of the DAT companies have done at the market products, convertible notes, and other things to be able to fund debt to be able to purchase more of the asset and aggregate it faster so that they trade higher than MNAV. Basically, a dollar in the company would net you a greater return than buying the asset itself. If you had bought MicroStrategy early on, you would have seen more appreciation on that company than you saw on Bitcoin. So that's kind of the premise behind these DATs is if you do it the right way, you could see, the ETFs are always going to trade 1-to-1 with NAV or the net asset value. You're going to get a multiple of NAV, which is MNAV, on these DATs. And, that's kind of the benefit. So if you're dollars to donuts, which one you were going to do. If you're looking for something that's going to give you a higher ROI versus the asset itself, then the DAT would be the play. I don't know that they're going to get the deal done before we see some appreciation. We'll see if that ends up being the case. They already have a ton of XRP in that SPAC vehicle. Ripple made an allocation. You saw Uphold. You saw Chris Larson put 50 million XRP in. They've continued to aggregate XRP over there. I think they're close to like 420 million, almost $500 million XRP ready to go for that DAT. And so excited for them and excited for the XRPL and the value they're going to be able to bring in seeding a lot of these DeFi protocols. We met with a ton of people there at the event for Swell, met with Doppler Finance, had lunch with those guys. We talked to Midas, Axelar and their group, talked to Flair, talked to Hugo and everyone. A lot of people are working on a lot of different solutions to bring additional value to people that are holding XRP. And I think you're going to see a proliferation of that. We've got the only authorized securities offering for XRP here in the US. We also help structure the DR, or the depository receipt, for XRP with the DTCC earlier this year at Digital Wealth Partners. And we'll continue to innovate and bring XRP-focused products to market in a regulated way to be able to bridge the gap between TradFi and DeFi. And so, alongside Evernorth, that's kind of our de facto mission as well. But we want to do that for retail, right? A lot of people are going to buy the stock and they'll get some dividends and they'll get exposure to XRP, and that's great. But for people that are holding the bearer asset, we want to be able to provide those same benefits to them without them having to, you wouldn't be able to give it up because you can't invest directly into the DATs. But, we want people to have access to all the same things for their XRP. And so that's kind of our mission at Digital Wealth Partners. So if that resonates with you and you do have more than 50,000 XRP and you want access to all the same stuff that the institutions are going to have access to, you just reach out to us. You can go to digitalwealthpartners.net, use the contact us form, and we would love to work with you to provide, a lot of different benefits through institutional custody for your XRP. We got Brandon, my man. He says, "Are you still confident that XRP will be $100 by the end of 2025?" Yes. I will continue. And there's a lot of people that are upset with me saying these type of things. I don't really understand why. I mean, you can look at the math. We've talked about, total supply versus circulating supply versus available supply, and the amount of demand that we're going to see from institutions alongside the ETFs and potentially the exchanges. And all of this does require catalysts, right? But it looks like these catalysts are going to play out. And I've stated that time and again, but people only hear the time frame and the dollar amount. They don't think about, actually what has to occur for those things to happen. But I am telling you, there needs to be catalysts for us to get to that point. If the catalysts do not happen, that price is not going to happen. I'm confident, and I wouldn't come on here and say it otherwise, that those catalysts are going to happen here in 2025. And so with that in mind, I'm also confident in saying I do think XRP will be 3 or 4 digits by the end of the year. And it's just math. Like, I'm not hype. I'm not trying to I've made big bets with my business that this is going to be the case. I do come out here and publicly state these things, and I have a lot of credibility risk, right? I'm aware of that, and I'm okay with it. So if that tells you anything, but there's still going to be a lot of people, and look, I was having a conversation with a gentleman earlier today, and we went through market cap and some different stuff. Look, it's hard for people to understand something that hasn't existed before. And if there's not something analogous that they can relate it to, like stocks, these are protocols, and they're going to be used globally for this stuff to happen and be able to trade value and settle real time and all this stuff to be connected. So, the email protocol, imagine if the email protocol moved value. What would be the total market cap of the email protocol? People are aware how much volume is processed through that. Think about how many emails you send a day and how many emails are sent out a day. If all of that was moving money, you don't think what was moving that money would have to be worth a very high price to be able to provide liquidity to that? That's effectively the same thing that we're going to be doing, but at a much larger scale. There's more payments per day than there are emails. So again, I just think people have a hard time reconciling that because there's nothing analogous to it that exists today. And so it's hard for them to comprehend a market cap that's in the quadrillions of dollars, but it's not a company. It's a protocol that's going to move value at scale. And, a couple of people have shared this over here, so I'll point to it and to it. My disclaimer for my attorneys. This is not financial advice. It's only for entertainment, educational purposes only. If you need a financial advisor, you can absolutely reach out to our team. We have people that are certified, have a Series 65, have the certification, 763, 24, all the fun stuff to be able to provide you financial advice on your digital assets. And they can tell you to buy XRP, but you can't do it because I said so, because I'm just a guy on the internet. And the other thing I would say is the opinions that I state here are my opinions. They're not the opinions of Digital Ascension Group or its subsidiary Digital Wealth Partners. So they're actually probably going to tell you to hedge a lot more than I am. And you have to understand my risk profile and my age and all the things that go into my considerations for making the choices that I am. And take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. Go do your own research. I'm not the end all be all. I've been very blessed and privileged to be in rooms with people that are doing big things and have been successful, and they've been nice enough to share some things with me. And I try to impart those things for you guys through the communication as well. All right, we got another one. We got Scott, my man. He says, "Hey Jake, a legend will be applied when you win your bet." That's fair. Okay, I'll take that one. If it feels like price is suppressed in order to give the ETFs a running start, what are your thoughts on my theory? If you can speculate. I don't make any bones about it. Like, Ripple sells XRP onto the market every month and holds price down. Other people, poo-poo that. If you wanted a stable price to be able to trial and test a network, you need an escrow to be able to maintain price stability. If you have large volatile swings in the price all the time, it's not going to work really good for settlement. So yeah, absolutely. The price is for sure manipulated. And after speaking on the panel with Vivo Power, the other DAT for the XRPL or for XRP this weekend with Flare, actually not this weekend, I guess it was Tuesday night there in New York. Had a lot of fun, by the way. Thank you, Ray Fuentes. Shout out to Ray for putting that event on, and just always looking out for the community. If you guys don't know Ray Fuentes, I would highly recommend going to check out his channel. The dude is a hustler. I've known Ray for years. He's authentic. He's real. He's a great person. And, you know, I just want to say I appreciate him because there's things and introductions that Ray has made for me. I wouldn't be in the position I am today to be able to help people if he hadn't made those things early on in my career. So shout out to Ray Fuentes. But back to the Vivo Power. So he mentioned, and I did not know this. If you want to go watch that, it's on Ray's channel, the talk that we had. But he's able to acquire XRP at an 82% discount off of the current market value. 4x return on their investment immediately, because when they buy that XRP from Ripple, I'm sure there's a lockup period for that. They're not going to be able to just sell it onto the market, but they can buy it today and it'll be unlocked in a certain period of time. And it's already worth 4 times more. So again, like, you can say they're manipulating price. You can say all these things. If you want banks and institutions to adopt something, you need both. You need a counterparty that's advocating for the network and controls some of the supply to be able to provide incentives for them to be able to get access to it at a discounted rate, right? Like, people with a bunch of money, they want discounts. So no different for you, right? Like, if you were buying things in bulk, you would want it at a discount rate. So Ripple's able to provide that to the institutions, and they're also able to sell XRP and fund their business, which is in the business of making XRP more valuable by building applications on the network so that it gets adoption. It's a positive feedback loop. And I know that it seems negative. There's a lot of people that paint that in a negative light. I just call a spade a spade. I know what's going on. I know they're going to be successful. I don't have a problem with it because they don't control the network. The network itself is decentralized. There's 33 validators that vote on everything. Ripple controls 3 of those, the rest of them. So there's literally 10 times the amount of validators that Ripple runs to be able to vote on the network that they don't control, that are institutions, other counterparties that run nodes and validators on the network. There's agencies like the SEC that runs a validator and a node. And then there's also universities as well that also run validators and nodes. So anyway, I'm cool with it, but I think there's a lot of people out there that may not understand why you need both pieces in order to actually be successful and get it to scale. We've got ASM Argon AI says, I really don't see the considerable spike in oil within 2 months. What would kick off the reverse carry trade? Convince me otherwise. I won't have to convince you. You'll get to watch oil spike when they're ready to make it spike, and you will see the reverse carry trade unwind. I don't need to convince anybody. I'm going to continue to beat that drum. I don't know how to tell you I know. I'm pretty sure. We'll see. I could be wrong, right? Like I said, I'm some guy on the internet. You can make your own decisions. You should invest however you think is fit. And if you think oil is going down, you should short it, just like the hedge funds that pulled a bunch of their short positions off of it just a few days ago, because there was the largest short position ever on oil in the recent past, and something spooked those people, and a lot of them took their shorts off of oil here recently. But if you want to add one, you're more than welcome to do it. We got Brian. He says, did you know that the YouTube influencer Levi called you out on X? $1 million bet. XRP won't reach 700 by the end of the year. Yeah, I saw that. That's okay. Like I said the other day in a tweet, not everybody, no, there are some people that are not going to believe it until they see it. And that's okay, because not everybody's a visionary. And my definition of crazy, and you can call me crazy, you can call me a lunatic, either one of those things is fine. My definition is you can see things that other people can't, right? And that could be because you have a mental disorder, it could be bad, or you could be somebody that sees something that's coming that other people have a hard time really comprehending because they don't have all the information. So, that's okay. I've already made a public bet, so I don't really feel the need to bet him. He doesn't know that my middle name is Levi. So we actually have that in common, which is funny. Um, I've started to receive, some hate from some people, and that's okay. We got close to $1 billion under management at this point. We have $300 million worth of XRP in our hedge fund. We'll continue to have some really cool things come out toward the end of the year. We're not slowing down any, and we'll continue to work with good people, right? I know I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Trump's not everybody's cup of tea. Elon's not everybody's cup of tea. The mayor in New York that was just, voted in is not everybody's cup of tea. That's okay. The people that resonate with my stuff and want to work with us are awesome people, and they're who we want to work with too. And so we'll continue to build the products and solutions that we're bringing to market, head down, growing as fast as we can, scaling to meet demand, and helping everybody in the community. And we'll see who the good guys are, over the long term. I'm not perfect. I'll be the first person to say that, but I really do want people to do well. I want people to have an option to take care of themselves and their family and set things up the right way, to be able to protect this over the long term. Because I had to figure it all out myself. And I spent a lot of money figuring it out myself, made mistakes, lost stuff. And if I can help other people skip over those potholes and just get straight to the end and be able to set themselves up for success for them and their family, that's what I'm trying to do. And it's a business. Like, we charge for our service, but I always want people to feel like they got way more value than what we charged. So, and if we're not doing that, I need to know about it. I want people to reach out and give us critical feedback. And then I'm able to fix those things, because we do want to do better. We want to set the standard in the industry. And if we're performing below that, we need to step our game up. Right. So anyway, there's going to be people, there's going to continue to be people that don't like me for whatever reason, or say things about me. That's okay. I'm right with God, and that's all I need. We got Rick, my man. He says, Jake, is there any benefit in waiting to purchase the XRP ETF shares in a larger company like BlackRock versus one of the smaller companies? BlackRock has the smaller fees on most of their ETFs versus other people. So, that's why they aggregated so much money on the Bitcoin ETF. They did have the lowest cost to participate in their ETF versus some of the other people on the market. I think that there'll probably also be a race to the bottom on the fees for the XRP ETFs. And I do think that BlackRock at scale could probably offer, a better, more competitive cost on the fee structure. So if you want basis points more return, I do think that their ETF is probably going to provide that over some of the other ones. Excuse me. Chomp, he says, Jake the Steak, what's up, my man? What's cooking? With XDC and ALGO lately, still see that $50 long-term sizzle for XDC, or are we cooling off the grill? Yeah, I think XDC could absolutely still reach $50 over the long term. I don't see that in the short term here. Working on some stuff for XDC, working on some stuff for XLM. We're not a one-trick pony over here at Digital Wealth Partners or Digital Ascension Group. We know that people are invested in a lot of the assets that they believe are going to be involved in the payment system. And what Kurt says is the Megazord. So you had XRP, XLM, XDC, ALGO, IOTA, HBAR, Quant. The majority of our clients hold a variety of those assets. And so we're starting to build out other products and solutions to be able to work with those as well, that will be coming to fruition, hopefully Q1 of 2026. We got Michael, my man. He says, just filed my LLC with the Digital Family. Awesome, dude. What are the fees for institutional asset holdings? So at Digital Wealth Partners, we do have fees. We charge AUM fees. Just to give you kind of like a comparison to some of the other people on the market, we don't make any money on the sale or trading of the assets. There are going to be other people out there that are incentivized to get you to do that, because that's how they make money. I like to align incentives with people. Okay. We're incentivized for your wealth to grow over time. and for you to not have a whole bunch of tax implications, because we charge on AUM. So if your basis stays the same and then your assets grow with us and you're holding the same assets over the long term, not getting taxed on those, that's our aligned incentives, and that's how we get compensated. So that's why we charge AUM fees. AUM fees are assets under management. So if you had $1 million with us, be 2% of the $1 million. That's prorated monthly. So you would break that out over the year. I think it ends up being like 16 or 17 basis points, or 16 or 17% of 1% per month is what we would charge. So $1,600, $1,700 for $1 million working with us. You get advisory, you get $100 million worth of insurance on your assets. Your spouse and your beneficiaries are on the account. They don't have to know anything about crypto. Your advisor has products and solutions to be able to generate returns on the asset for you. If you're accredited, we're about to have some other cool stuff that comes to market for everybody. You don't have to be accredited in the near future. We provide you lines of credit against your digital assets. We're about to have some other cool partners for that too. I wish I could talk about all the cool stuff that we have coming, but you guys will see it. There'll be a lot of PR that rolls. So if that sounds cool, and then as your assets appreciate, the fees go down. That's the way that I've structured it, because I think most people are going to be over that $10 million mark over the long term, and it's 40 basis points at that point. So 40 basis points is 40% of 1%. Anything between up to 5 million is 2%. After 5 million, it drops to 50 basis points. After 10 million, drops to 40 basis points. And then hopefully we have some people that have billions of dollars, and we'll negotiate if you want to lower fees past that. So, which, advocate for people to advocate for themselves. And then we do charge performance fees if you're a qualified client. So if you had $1 million with us, you're not a qualified client, we couldn't charge any performance fees on that. We never charge performance fees on the appreciation of the asset itself. You made those investments. We did not. Those are not advised action. So we're not entitled to any of the upside on your crypto. We have to make you an additional 8%. So your assets grow in value. Awesome. AUM fees go up for us a little bit, right? And as they go up, the actual percentage comes down a lot. So we get that. It helps us keep the lights on, make sure that we're able to pay your advisor, pay for the insurance, all the other stuff that we need to be able to run our business. And then if we do good and make you more than 8% on your total portfolio, we go 80-20 on everything above the 8%. The high water mark is whatever your portfolio value was on December 31st of the previous year, or whatever it was when you originally invested with us. And again, you could value that in XRP. So that's the way I would look at it. Like, do you have 8% more XRP or 8% more money that would be in terms of XRP at the end of the year? I don't know that we're ever going to get to the point where, especially if XRP appreciates a ton, I don't think we're going to get the 8% this year, especially if we see appreciation, like I think, because of the way the math's going to work. So, most of the time it's just going to be the AUM fees. We have to do a really good job to make any more money and make you a bunch more money in the process. Again, I always want to align incentives. And again, there are other people out there that, they're asking you to sell your XRP or telling you to sell your XRP. I'm not telling you not to. Everybody has their own decisions to make. I just would encourage you to consider holding it over the long term. Imagine selling Bitcoin at $100 and regretting that now, not that far in the future, 10 years later. It's 1,000 times more than it was. I think people are going to do the same thing on XRP. And if it's life-changing money for you, you never go broke taking profits. Be aware of the tax implications that you have. And hopefully you keep a forever bag. Even if you are going to sell a portion of your bag, hopefully you keep a forever bag, because I do think 2030 is coming a lot quicker than people think. 5 years from now, and based on the conversations at Swell, XRP is going to be a lot higher value, like 6 digits or more at that point. So if you want to hold it, if you want to generate returns with it, if you want to be able to borrow against it, if you want all the stuff that people buy real estate for to be able to mitigate taxes and get cash flow, that's what we're recreating with XRP at Digital Wealth Partners. So hopefully that gives you the fees over there, and we look forward to working with you, Michael. Thank you for the super chat, my man. We got Wake the Fork Up. He says, do we, as in XRP, have any competition with settling the funds on the back end of the stock market? If so, do you think XRP wins? Thanks, and welcome back, my man. Cheers. No, there is no other option for the back end of the stock market at scale. If you want to talk about competition, I mean, R3 can settle through a few other things. They have partnered with Solana. They have utilized XDC. There's been announcements about that. The primary settlement mechanism for Corda, which I'm Corda certified, if you want to go look it up on LinkedIn, I have my certification posted there, is XRP. So it's the only thing that has clarity, and I think it's going to be the only thing that has enough liquidity in it to be able to work at scale for the back end of the stock market when it's needed. So no, I don't think that there's any other option at this time for that. The Godfather. It's a good name. They say, hey, champion. What's up, dude? Love your work. Question, Patrick Witt. That was the gentleman's name that Brad Garlinghouse spoke to on the panel. I was blown away by how articulate he was and how much he understood about everything that's going on in crypto. He says, blew my mind when he said Ripple and others building the new financial infrastructure for the new crypto economy. Could you please elaborate? That's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what is happening. And he mentioned XRP specifically. I think you're going to start to see more and more people actually talk about XRP publicly. I will make a bet that Elon in the near future also talks about XRP publicly. So we'll see if my crystal ball is working. But that is my bet, that alongside the other one that I have with scams. We got KJ. He says, when the reverse carry trade unwinds, do you see stablecoins crashing as well? If so, what stablecoin will recover the best? Stablecoins are stable. And if they're pegged to treasuries, why would they crash? Unless treasuries were collapsing. But the whole point of stablecoins and the Genius Act was to stabilize the bond market when that happens. So when all of those treasuries come flooding back to the US, when the reverse carry trade unwinds, when Japan dumps the $1.6 trillion worth of treasuries they have, and the other, BRICS nations follow behind that with Project Sandman, we now have $2.3 trillion worth of demand here domestically from the stable coins and the banks and issuers of stable coins to be able to soak that up and stabilize the bond market. So I don't think we're going to have a problem. I don't think you're going to see ROUSD depeg or USDC depeg. I do think you are going to see USDT or Tether depeg because, you didn't mention this here, but some of the backing for that stablecoin is not treasuries. Part of it's Bitcoin, part of it's private credit or private debt, and then there's a large portion that is treasuries. They are the 16th largest holder of U.S. treasuries, but that's still not enough to back, the total amount of Tether that's out there in circulation. So I do think Tether is going to depeg when the reverse carry trade unwinds. MIF, I would say Paxos is probably fine, and PayPal is also probably fine on stablecoins. So it's just Tether that I'm worried about. MIF007 says, I got scammed by a deepfake AI, set up the bank social, join Carbon One. Anything else I can do? Be careful, folks. I'm sorry to hear that, man. There are so many fake accounts of me out there at this point. It's untenable for us to get them all in time. And I'm sorry that we're not able to do more than we already are. We're already spending, 5 figures a month on trying to remove all the fake accounts and all the stuff that's out there to be able to do, because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of crypto that's been stolen. And that's why we partnered with Bank Social and Secura to be able to recover the crypto. They have recovered about $10 million worth of digital assets for people. If you want to go to their website, if you're in the mastermind, you get it for free for carbon 1 or higher. And you are able to work with them. The faster that you can let them know that you've been scammed and your assets have been taken, the faster they're able to get them back. So, you know, if they get them off of an exchange and liquidate them, there's not much that they can do, but at least it's something to be able to try to get your assets back before they're gone for forever. And they do work with 3-letter agencies to be able to lock and freeze those accounts and get those assets back to you. And they provide a great service. It's been cool to see them recover as much crypto as they have for people. Kenny, he says, Bayou Bottoms Guide Service. What's your take on quantum doomsday, if any? Glad to have you back learning from the mastermind. Awesome, dude. Glad to have you there in the group. Kenny, I think that Bitcoin is going to be in trouble when quantum computing is at scale, or somebody decides to use a quantum computer to hack Bitcoin blockchain or Satoshi's wallets. It's SHA-256 is the encryption. There are supercomputers that have cracked SHA-256, so it should be, you know, cake for a quantum computer to do that. And if that Bitcoin is taken or the blockchain itself is hacked, it's not going to be usable. People are going to run from it, which is unfortunate because it really is an esoteric, really good idea. I like digital gold. I think that there's a spot for that. There's a utility to it. There's just a lot of holes with Bitcoin. If they hadn't forked the network and it had stayed, you know, on the trajectory the Bitcoin Cash went on. Shout out to Zcash, by the way. If you guys own any Zcash, you made a bunch of money here recently. A lot of the privacy coins are starting to pump, starting to see some life come back into the altcoins. So anyway, back to the story at hand here. If it hadn't forked and they had allowed the block size to increase for Bitcoin, it could have continued to scale as a peer-to-peer payment solution without the frictions and cost and time between counterparties to be able to settle. But you know, once VCs got involved with Bitcoin and they started to run some of the miners, they really kind of handicapped Bitcoin when they forked it like that. And since then, it has operated as it is today. It's just slower, has a long latency and a higher cost to be able to move things, which as digital gold, like you're going to sit it there. So maybe it's an incentive to not move your Bitcoin because you know it's going to cost you more than, you know, a cup of coffee when you send it. But it's not ever going to work as a peer-to-peer payment system or for merchant services or any of that. So I don't know. I like Satoshi's original vision. I think a lot of the people that were involved with Satoshi also were involved with XRP. I think that will become apparent over the long term. And I think a lot of people's opinion about XRP is going to shift substantially when they find that out. We got Zach. He says, hey, legend, would you say Swell made you more confident or less confident by the end of your price prediction? More. I would say more. Thank you for the super chat. Chomp, my man, he says, Jake the Snake. What's the deal with hash? What's provenance? That's provenance, right? Feel like quiet heat. God bless the tea lady. Thank you, man. My wife with the wonderful tea. So Mike Cagney, who I've had on the podcast, and we have another great cast today that I shot a podcast with that'll be coming out hopefully over the weekend here. I think you guys will like it. He was fantastic. If you haven't watched that episode on the channel, I would highly recommend people going out there to the YouTube channel and type in Jake Claver and Mike Cagney. Dude's brilliant. He built I don't remember, I think it's SoFi, and now he's got Figure, and they just took that public too. So he's a prolific entrepreneur, brilliant guy, understands capital markets. He's doing collateralized debt obligations, rolling those up on the blockchain to the tune of $750 million worth of mortgages every single month on chain on Provenance. And then in addition to that, they are tokenizing life insurance. It's the only blockchain that I've seen that's tokenizing life insurance there on Provenance. So super bullish on hash. It reminds me of XDC when I first got in it. I had to like kind of go around my butt to get it. It wasn't available on exchanges. This one is, it's only on Figure Markets and Osmosis. But I do think that it could be listed on some larger places in the near future. So I bought like $2,000 of it, full transparency. I don't own a ton of it. We know some people that do, and they're super bullish on it. Big players, not like chump change, like VCs, like people that know what they're doing, that have made like some of the largest returns ever for their LPs, own a pretty good chunk of that. So I'm bullish on it. We'll see what happens with it. I threw a couple grand at it. It's the only thing I've bought besides XRP in the past 3 years. So do with that what you will. Again, not financial advice, only for entertainment and educational purposes only. Go do your own research. Take what I say with a grain of salt. But I would encourage you to go watch the podcast, because I do think like you'll have a much greater appreciation and understanding for what provenance is and does from Mike than I can give you. Tim, my man, he says, joined the mastermind yesterday. That's what's up, dude. Far away from 50K XRP, but I'm here for it. Disabled Army vet, ready to enjoy raising my daughter and live the right life. Awesome, dude. Congrats on joining the mastermind. Excited to have you in there. If you guys want to join the mastermind, you can do the same thing. We would have over 9,000 people that are part of that community. We do more in real life events than anybody else, I think, in the world for crypto at this point. More than Bored Ape Yacht Club, more than everybody. So if that sounds cool to you, you want to meet other cool people and do cool stuff with them, just go to beyondbroke.com and use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar, get you the first month for $2 there in the mastermind. And again, we're going to lock it down over a $10 XRP. I don't think is going to take a whole lot longer. Fly fishing Jeremy. I want to go back on this. Rewind and talk to Tim one more second. We are going to have a webinar on the 20th of this month for veterans and first responders. We feel like, you guys are in the line of fire a lot of the time. Extremely appreciative for what you do for the community and every American if you've served in the Army or Navy or another special forces. So thank you for your service. Same thing to firefighters, policemen, paramedics. You guys deal with a lot of stuff, and you're in danger a lot of the time. So thank you for what you're doing. And we want to put on a webinar to talk about, protecting your legacy for your family, for what you've built for them, right? Because you are in a position where you tend to have a bit more exposure to loss than other people. So if that sounds cool to you, we should have the link up for that in the next couple days here. So be on the lookout for it. Don't expect it right now. I don't have a place to send to you, but we will get it out for you guys. And we're excited about that webinar for veterans and first responders on November 20th. I think 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Fly fishing Jeremy, and happy Veterans Day coming up here on the 11th to you guys. He says, post Swell, are you still as bullish timeline wise for price appreciation as you were before Swell? I don't know why. Like, yes, I don't know. Well, I mean, I do say this, right? Like, if I'm presented with new data, I will tell you guys. This person said, where do I sign up for the webinar? See, this is why I don't even want to say stuff until we have a link. I just said, like, we're not going to have it for a couple days. Give us a couple days to get it up, and we will provide it for you. So it'll be out on all socials. So back to Swell. If I am presented with new data that would change my mind about something, I am happy to say I'm wrong. Okay, I'll be the first person to say I'm wrong on something if it doesn't go the way that I think. Okay, or if I'm presented with new data that makes me change my opinion about something, I will get on here and tell you guys. I promise. You'll be the first ones. Boy Scouts honor. There's a lot of people accusing me of using this as a marketing campaign to get people into our business. I don't know that they know exactly what we do. We provide wealth management for digital assets. Now, we do have a very large portion of XRP that we manage, but we also manage Bitcoin and ETH and Matic and Chainlink and Solana and Avalanche and Quant and a bunch of ERC20 tokens. Like, we have clients with a wide variety of assets, XLM also. So I talk about XRP because it's what I own. I make content about it because I think it's cool. I want people to understand the opportunity that they have with it. And we have made a big bet on it with our business, right? With the first fund products that we put out work for Bitcoin and XRP. But we do have clients that don't even own XRP. So I don't know if people just don't know everything that we do and they think saying that's going to make me look bad or something. I don't know. But irrespective, we'll continue to build products for XRP because of all the stuff that I want selfishly is what I tend to point my team towards. And we'll continue to build out other stuff. Like I just said, we're going to work for stuff for XLM and XDC and HBAR in the near future. And we already have Bitcoin and ETH and Solana. We're able to get returns on all those. So anyway, and again, I think you guys will like what's coming about here in the near future. Silverado Man says, is the price about to explode? If the ETFs go live next week, quite possibly. Again, it's all dependent on Japan. Oil. I'm going to continue to beat the drum. Oil, oil, oil. Watch it. If oil spikes, I'm not even going to say if. When oil spikes, it will cause the reverse carry trade to unwind and everything will run. Until then, nothing's going to move. Okay. So just watch for that. Like that's all. And the Nikkei was down the other day a little bit, but it wasn't down like it was when everything was unwinding for the reverse carry trade. But that is coming in the not too distant future. We've got Anthony. He says, great talking with you and Max at the Futurist Conference. Awesome, dude. It was good to see you there. Also, it was great meeting Beyond Broke members from all over the country and Canada, Carbon One members. Proud to be part of the community. Awesome, dude. Thank you so much for being there at Futurist. It was great to meet you. That's what I said. Everybody kind of showed up in droves, which is really cool to see the community come out and support and get to meet other cool people. And a lot of people did snowbird. I noticed that there was multiple people from Canada that came down to Florida to come check out that deal. Much warmer there in Fort Lauderdale than it is up there in Canada at this point, and New York. This person says, I just received an offer for my house in Los Angeles. I requested payout in crypto, and I would love your thoughts on the best way to structure this sale. I'm also interested in retaining your services. Awesome. We would love to work with you. That's an interesting way to do it. Because you're not going to have to pay the fees to convert your fiat into crypto. If you do it that way, you could set up an account with us. You do have to have an LLC that manages digital assets or a trust in order to work with Digital Wealth Partners and have your institutional account there at Anchorage, which is an FBO account. It's segregated, bankruptcy remote, and insured up to $100 million. Like I said before, you can have your spouse on it. You can have your kids on it. They don't have to know anything about crypto. Your stuff's safe. God forbid something happens to you, it's going to get passed on to them. They're going to get put on the account. So anyway, I would love to work with you. In the structuring of the sale, I mean, should be pretty easy. You should just denominate, the sales price and whatever the token is, and then provide the wallet address in which you want it sent to. You would probably have to find somebody that's willing to swap the cash for the asset. Might look at like BitPay or Proppy. Might contact Proppy. I think they would be able to help you as well, or at least know somebody that could. Talk to some other cool people at Swell, Reclosure, and those guys at Propto doing some really cool stuff that we're excited about on the XRPL to do with real estate also. We got KJ. He says, when the reverse carry trade unwinds, do you see stablecoins crashing? We already went over this one. I will scroll on down here. I'm just going to jump to the bottom and we're going to work our way up. If you have not posted a super chat at this point, please do not post a super chat. I'm just going to say that now because I'm not going to go back the other direction. I'm going to go up from here. And if you haven't posted one, we got an hour left here. I'm going to try to get to everybody. So, just I don't want you to spend money and then not get an answer. Speaking of which, I got this gentleman that my wife gave me here. So I actually have to read this super chat that I forgot about. We've got, let's see here. Who is this person? Ryaz444. They say, the question was, how was it possible for BlackRock to come in at the last moment and go live with all the others waiting, unlike the other institutions that have already logged? From my research, appears minimum possible in 2 days. If they ask for acceleration because of BlackRock clout and reputation in the marketplace. So they already have a trust.
It's Reese.
Oh, Reese is his name. All right. Sorry, Reese. I'm going to answer this one for you. So November 14th, so 7 days from today, 2 years ago, BlackRock filed for an iShares XRP trust in Delaware, which is what they always do before they file an ETF. When people caught wind of that, the price decoupled from the rest of the market and doubled in 30 minutes. And then Bloomberg came out and said it was fake. And so BlackRock never said it was fake. Ripple never said it was fake. And then they just, said the DOJ was investigating and then nothing ever came from it. I'm extremely confident that trust is still sitting there. That would be what would throw a flag for people that it was coming, obviously, because it did. But then it was swept under the rug. So it's still sitting there, ready to go. They could use that vehicle and they could rush their S1 through as long as it met the criteria that the SEC stipulates for immediate approval of spot ETF for crypto. You would think that they would, like seniority or people that have had stuff filed longer would matter. It doesn't. I can tell you 3IQ had their stuff filed 6 months before everybody else for the Solana ETFs, and they got approved at the same time as everybody else in Canada. Same thing for Bitcoin ETFs. There was a ton of people that had applications in much sooner than BlackRock. All of them were approved at the same time. Their excuse for that is that they don't want to seem biased and approve people before other people, even though they've just done that with the HBAR ETF and the Litecoin and the Solana ETF. People are saying I work for Ripple here in the chat. That'd be great. I mean, I was at Swell. They were awesome. It's very weird to me that they know who I am. Like, it's kind of surreal. Like, see Stuart Alderati and say, hey, and he's like, hey, Jake. Like, what? Anyway, like, I don't know. I kind of fanboy a little bit, I guess. There's people that you have a lot of respect for. And when they know your name without you, like, having to come up and introduce yourself, and I've met them a bunch of times, too, at this point. So, like I said, I've been to the last couple Swells, and I've seen them out at other events, and we kind of run the same circuit. We were at SALT with them this year, both Stu Alderati and Brad Garlinghouse. Brad knew who I was last year. Actually, the first time I ever met him, knew who I was, which is weird. Just reach out and said, hey, Jake, how's it going? So if you're on Twitter and they are watching, I guarantee they probably know who you are. Ripple is paying attention to the XRP army. We've got Lori. Hey, ma'am. She says, welcome back. I had a great meeting with my new advisor after onboarding with DWP. Is he the one that will put my son on my account as the beneficiary, or is that someone else at DWP? It's your advisor. Yeah, you just reach out to them and let them know who you would like as the beneficiary on your account, and they will get that set up for you. And look forward to working with you. Thank you so much for trusting us and wanting to work with us over there at Digital Wealth Partners. And let me know if there's anything that doesn't happen that's good. Let me know. That way I can make sure we're on top of it. Casey, Miss Wilson, or Mr. Wilson, I don't know. Casey, never know with Casey. They say there is a seminar going on this weekend through the mastermind. I was not able to attend. Will there be a second set of dates for the exact same seminar in the future? We will do it again next year. This one is recorded. I know that they are filming, all the panels and discussions that they've had here over the last 24 hours. They'll be filming all the ones tomorrow and on Sunday as well. And we'll be able to share some of those select speeches and panels with the community. Yeah, I'm really excited about Laughlin. They are going over the Rockefeller method, how to do, a spendthrift equity stripping trust to be able to protect your LLC and have the first lien holder on it, alongside insurance policies, structured with assets, to be able to borrow against those. I think that it's going to be super insightful for people that have more than $500,000 in crypto. People that aren't quite to that level yet, maybe wait a little bit longer, but we will have that content for people there in the mastermind. And thank you for being part of it. We've got L. They say, hey Jake, how many people do you estimate will be part of the digital family community when XRP hits $10? Do you think there's a point where the group will be too large to retain this community feel? Yeah, that bugs me. I do think about that. We've already lost a little bit of it, and I'm trying to figure out solutions because I don't I want people to be close knit. I want people to know each other. I want these to be real relationships. And at scale, it's just hard. I mean, it's just like a corporation. When you get past 70 people, you're not going to know everybody, just like your high school class. You know what I mean? Imagine how many people you graduated high school with. Mine was 2,600. There were 10 people that walked across the stage that I had never even seen before. Actually, I take it back. It wasn't 26. The year I graduated, Plano had 2,600. I only had 640 people in my graduating class at Rockwall High School here in Texas. And there were still 10 people that I had no idea who they were. So if you're looking at thousands of people, it would be difficult to interact with every single person. We do, have people that are in different parts of the world and parts of the US that tend to, meet each other through the group. And I think that's the additional value there. You're going to develop all of the memberships and groups that I've been a part of. I've cultivated relationships with people that lasted past that group. Not to say that I want people to leave the group. We're going to continue to provide as much value as we possibly can. The most I've seen things scale to that kept an intimate vibe is around 3,000, to be really honest. And we're already way past that. We're at 9,000 people. I think we're right around that in Carbon 1, and Carbon 2 is about 250 people. We have some people that are, in private community, Carbon 3 too. Those are family office. So, it's hard to do that at scale. We have about 1,500 people on the town halls every Saturday. So for those that don't know, we do an additional, two calls every single week in the mastermind, Saturday mornings. We won't have one tomorrow. I'm going to do it Sunday morning this week because I'll be at the Laughlin event speaking tomorrow at 9 a.m. So unfortunately, push it a day, but I always make them happen. And then Monday, we normally have an additional call that's the digital asset discussion for 30 minutes where we go over market dynamics and what to expect for the week. So, yeah, always providing additional value. We have thousands of hours of content there in the mastermind that you can listen back to. And yeah, again, I want to keep that feel. I like that. And if you have any suggestions on how to do that at scale, I would love to hear them. But yeah, I think, before price appreciation happens, we could get to 10,000 people. I don't think it's going to be much more than that. We're already at 9,300 and we've been adding about 1,000, 2,000 people a month. So again, I expect things to move here at the end of the year. And we will lock it down on the other side of a $10 XRP. It will be invite only at that point, and we will be extremely protective of the people in there. Not that we aren't already, but we'll be much more diligent in background checks, and the price and to participate in that community will be substantially higher. If we let anybody in at all, really. We've got Rockin' HL. They say, if you think Bitcoin will crash a lot, why do some of these ETFs have Bitcoin as their biggest holding. What's the play there? Seems like a loss. Oh, it sure does, Rock and HL. Look, you're asking good questions. If you wanted to orchestrate a crisis to roll in something else, you would create a situation where Bitcoin had systemic risk. 2 years ago, Bitcoin didn't have systemic risk. Before the ETFs, there was no systemic risk. You had MicroStrategy and a few other companies that held their Bitcoin treasury or a portion of their treasury in Bitcoin. Now we have huge financial institutions, including pension funds, hedge funds, ETFs, large banks. There's a lot of people that are holding a fairly sizable amount of their allocation in Bitcoin. And it's accrued value since 2 years ago also. So now it's making up a larger portion of what, was invested versus when it was originally invested versus. Sorry. So with all of that in mind, if there were a large move down in Bitcoin, there would be a lot of losses. There would be a lot of unrealized losses because they can't settle real time on the back end of the stock market. They settle T+1. And Bitcoin settles real time. And it settles over the weekend. And it settles all night long. So if there is a significant crash and they can't de-risk in time, what they're going to need to do is move to instant settlement of the stock market, which I talked about at the beginning of this. When I was at Swell, they had the president of NASDAQ. And she talked about the first use case for distributed ledger technology for stocks is going to be through the DTCC to be able to settle and reconcile transactions on the back end of trades. So if you think through that, there's always, you're asking good questions. I would continue to criticize things and poke holes and look at stuff. I would just look at it from the lens of somebody that was looking to benefit from bad things happening, quote unquote, bad things happening. And then kind of work backwards from there as to why certain things have occurred versus looking at them at a visceral level or a surface level and not digging those additional layers deeper to critically think through why somebody would want to do that. We've got about another 30 minutes here and then we're gonna wrap it up. We got Jayhawk Nation. What's up, Rockhawk Jayhawk? Welcome back, legend. Wife is currently on a month underway with the Navy. Okay. And if price appreciation happens before she gets back, can't I start my onboarding with you guys or wait for her? Yeah, you can. So if you have a single member LLC, then we would just designate her as a signer or a manager on the account and then set her up when she got back. And you could absolutely set her up as a beneficiary with no issues. And you could onboard by yourself. So yeah, good to go, my man. Excited. Congratulations. Sounds like she's a heck of a lady. So, or maybe she's the lucky one. I don't know. Appreciate you taking the time out on a Friday night to hang out with me. And I look forward to working with you because I do think we're going to see some price movement here in the not too distant future. Drizzle Nizzle, what's up? They say, thank you for all the contribution to the space. When do you see flare prices appreciating? I don't know. I talked to Hugo for a long time on Tuesday of this last week. I don't know if y'all saw me on the panel with him. It's hard to tell how big people are on Zoom. You guys can, kind of tell my size on here, but when you see somebody in person, it's very different. And I had a different perception about Hugo. Anyway, super cool, awesome, extremely intelligent. And, we chatted for 2.5 hours on different things. And they threw a cool event too. I wasn't able to make it to the Flare event, but a lot of people from the XRP community did go to that. So back to the price appreciation. There needs to be demand for the token. They are very focused on generating yield on XRP. And I don't know. There needs to be institutional demand for the token and the DeFi applications. I talked with a gentleman yesterday that talked to Ashish about Flare and their investment from Evernorth. He didn't seem overly aggressive on that. It was kind of like, sure, we'll see type thing. I think Ripple's more focused on native DeFi applications on the XRPL versus Flare. In the past, we talked to a gentleman that used to work for Ripple. And when we were discussing Flare with him, he mentioned that he thought, again, this is a third party objective person that used to work at Ripple that's no longer there. He thought that the Flare time series Oracle was the main component that Ripple was really interested in when they invested in that project, which makes a lot of sense. You want to be able to incentivize people to provide good price feeds for the Oracle on chain. And Chainlink, is a good Oracle, but I think the Flare time series Oracle could actually provide better price feeds than Chainlink. So we'll just have to see, man. I wish I had a better answer for you. It could be like 6 months from today, it's going to be awesome. You're going to make so much. There's only a couple things that I'm certain on, and I come on here and talk about those. Flare is not one of them. I sold on my Flare at 29 cents on the way down when it first got distributed and swapped it for XRP. It's, people have been staking it on Bifrost and earning a little bit and stacking those tokens. Kudos to you guys for sticking it out. I do think it'll pay off for you. I just don't know when that's going to happen. Luis, my man, he says, Jake, the master of XRP. Definitely not. There are no masters of XRP. Like, that's the whole benefit of XRP, my man. He says, do you have any connection in the Cayman Islands to open an LLC or trust account here? I am a resident of Cayman Islands, where there are no taxes. I want to work with you. Yes, we do have multiple groups there in the Caymans that we can work with to be able to structure things. If you just want to email us at digitalfamilyoffice.io, it's info@digitalfamilyoffice.io. Our team there can get you connected with our team in the Caymans to be able to get you structured. We got Sunny. He says, Jake, or she, not sure. I'm going to go with she. Sunny sounds like a lady's name. She says, Jake, you and the team are awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for all that you do. We appreciate you being our peace as the noise gets louder. No questions here. Just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words and the support and hanging out with me on a Friday and taking time out to brighten my day with your sunshine. It's stuff like that like, there's a lot of negativity out there. I try not to let that get to me, as we continue to have more and more success. That's just part of what's coming, and I'm good with that. Even if we're only able to help a few people, it's worth the other BS that I have to deal with and our team has to deal with. So thank you for being one of the good ones and the kind words, and we look forward to working with you if we aren't already and having you in the mastermind if you aren't already. I haven't talked about this. We touched on it a couple times, but I want to put it up here for people just in case. If you do need an LLC to be able to work with digital wealth partners, or if you just want creditor protection on your crypto, anonymity, tax advantages, all the cool stuff that, the cool kids are doing, you don't have to work with us. You can go work with attorneys in Wyoming. But if you do want it done for a little bit cheaper than what they're going to charge you, because I know them all, I've worked with them all. I know them. Hathaway and Coons, there's many. If you want it done for $2,000, which is cheaper than anybody else is going to do it for you up there in Wyoming, to set up your LLC and structure it the right way, you can work with us. You can just use the code 50OFF, 50OFF-DAG-LLC. That's 50OFF-DAG-LLC. And you get the LLC set up there in Wyoming, articles of organization, EIN number, registered agent, certificate of good standing, banking memorandum, step-by-step process on how to move your assets into the LLC, the template for the operating agreement, which is going to be super expensive if you get an attorney to do it, somewhere between $1,800 and $25 or $2,500. just for the operating agreement in most circumstances. And we're going to do the corporate veil service for you, which is normally an additionally another $600 or more if you worked with somebody else to do all your meeting minutes and your banking, your board resolutions, all the other stuff you need to maintain your corporate veil and get the creditor protection there in Wyoming. This is anonymous. Your information is not going to appear on it. Neither is your address. And that's the other benefit of working with an attorney. There's a lot of people that are like, I want to use LegalZoom. Cool. You're not going to get the anonymity if you do it that way. So anyway, if you want to work with us to do it, it's $2,000 if you use that code. And if not, that's also okay. There's other good attorneys out there that can set it up for you in Wyoming as well. Let's see here. We got Big Joe. He says, also, I'm part of the Mastermind class. Awesome. Appreciate everything you guys do. God bless. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you. I'm assuming you had another question up here that I'm going to find as I scroll up. Here he is. Thank you for both super chats, my man. He says, so my current XRP holder, I have a good amount. I just received a nice stack of change and would like to buy some more. Do you think I should buy it right now at 233, or do you think it's going to dip some more? God bless. I just dollar cost average, Joe. I wish I could time the market on stuff and tell you it's going back to $1.90 or if it's going to $3 from here. I do have a crystal ball, but it says DWP in it. It doesn't show me the future. So I would look at it this. Are you going to be mad if you bought it at 233, or are you going to be like, or $3 or $4 if it goes to 100 or 50 or 1,000? I don't think so. I don't think you're going to be overly upset if you bought at any of those prices. So that's the way that I look at it. A couple more super chats, and then we're going to wrap it up for tonight. We got Trip. He says, oh, there's Max.
I have an announcement for the people that were asking, is that we have...
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. Oh, let me see if I can hear my thing on. Hold on. How about now, Brown Cow? I normally don't have to listen to other people on here, so I didn't have my speaker set up. Let's see here. He says maybe he's trying to get me on Discord or something. Maybe I'm not doing something right, which is a high possibility. I don't see any messages from him on Discord. Let's see here. We got Trip. He says, thank you for everything. How do I transfer newly purchased XRP from a personal exchange on Coinbase after previously moving to Decent and LLC through you? What forms do I need to fill out? You're good, my man. If you just want to, you would want to fill out a written consent or written action and then move it to the same wallet that you had before. And whatever's been contributed to the LLC, once it's moved in there, you just wanted to note that somewhere so that you show that you're continuing to add contributions to the business to fund it. That'd be the way that you would do it. Oh, all right. We're playing the picture game. What? Oh, we're at 10,000 members. Are you kidding me? Wow. Okay. Well, exciting news. We're already at 10,000 members. So appreciate Max for pointing that out. I looked at it earlier today and said 9,200. So I don't know how we got to 10,000, but super excited about that. Shout out to everybody in the Mastermind. That's unbelievable. I am blown away that we've reached that amount in the Mastermind. So thank you guys for, wanting to be in there and sharing the value in the community. If you want to be part of that community before we lock it down, we would love to have you in there. And again, it's $2 if you use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2. And it's not for everybody. I just want to say that, like, some people get in there, They don't like Discord. Things don't work out, but we try to always provide more value. We want people to feel like, wow, I would pay more for this. I've been a part of a lot of other masterminds where I paid a lot of money to participate, and I've met some cool people, but the value I got from it wasn't really that great. So I don't want that. I always want to do above what the expectation is. We always like to get feedback from people. So if you want to continue to improve, you want business resources, you want financial education, you want access to awesome people, learn how to be able to protect and grow your wealth. That's what we're focused on there, specifically for digital assets. And we run a lot of private deals that you're not going to get access to anywhere else. We got Amin. He says, I just got 2,200 XRP. Just tell me when I will have 50 million. You're not going to have 50 million. I'm sorry, man. It's going to be a long time. It would have to be, again, like $100,000 a piece or $50,000 a piece before you're going to get to that level. And we're at least 5 years away from that. So if you just want to like escrow that and lock it up on chain and wake up in 5 years, I think you'll be doing good at that point. We got Leo Properties. He says, hi, Jake. What's your opinion on owning Ripple stock? I think it's great. There's some cool opportunities in the mastermind. And I can't say a whole lot more than that. We got the Flying Hawaiian 801. He says, thank you for all that you do, Carbon One. Loving it. Awesome, dude. Glad to have you there in the mastermind. Created LLC, approved business account at Mercury. Just need to season the account in. Any advice? Thinking of taking profits at $1,300, 1,300 XRP at $2,500. Still have 5 digits bag for long haul. I mean, when it's that much, I don't know if we're going to have capital gains on the crypto. We'll have to see what Trump ends up rolling out on that. I'm hopeful, just like everybody else, that there's not going to be any long-term capital gains with the digital assets or short-term capital gains. I think that they may just do away with that but I don't know if they're going to qualify it. They may say you have to be using it for business transactions, which would, still work out for people that had it in an LLC versus a personal name. There's a lot of reasons that I think setting things up in an LLC or a trust is going to be significantly more beneficial for people over the long term versus like just holding it in your personal name. If they do get permission domains on the XRPL and you want to participate in liquidity pools or DeFi, anonymity is going to matter. And holding it in a corporation where you're anonymous versus your personal name and having your name attached to that wallet in some documented situation, I think is probably going to provide people a significant benefit that they don't even realize today. And this is, if it is the backbone of the financial system, like I believe it is, I think that that's a strong possibility that those things are going to be required in order to participate in certain things. Mr. Fleetwood, Jake, if I'm in the middle of chapter 13, does that block me from working with your team? It's restructuring. Chapter 13's, I'm sorry to hear that, man. We definitely wouldn't be able to do a trust for you. Absolutely not. If you're in the middle of a divorce or bankruptcy or owe the IRS or are running to evade creditors, you cannot set up a trust at that time. You could set up an LLC. It would have to be disclosed in court. There would be a bunch of like extra stuff with your attorneys that you're working with on that side of things. I would just, try to get through that before you decide to, and I would just, not financial advice, not legal advice, not tax advice. If your wallet happened to be somewhere else for a period of time during that, what you got going on, it might be beneficial if you could figure that out. They're going to subpoena you. It depends on who your creditors are, I guess. Best of luck with that. We would love to work with you when it's all worked out. Jessica Harris, she says, hey, Jake and the fam, what's going on with Link2? I'm an investor caught up in this and wondering if there's something we should be doing. So I actually did get to talk to John Deaton while I was at Swell. He was there, champion his new campaign. He's going to be running for another Senate position next go round. So excited for him. We did get to catch up on the case for Link 2 and talk about that. He is confident that it's going to end up in a self-liquidating trust, or not a self-liquidating, but a liquidating trust. And they're looking for a trustee. I don't think there's really any other way that they can get this out and around. If they can't move the shares, Ripple filed an injunction against that. They have over 8,000 Ripple holders in those SPVs there at Link 2. And through, there's just a lot of problems with the securities laws, the way that they're written today, and the way that things worked out over there. So I hate that for them. I hate that for all the investors. We have a lot of clients that are wrapped up in it. I will say this, though. John is confident that you will get 97, 98% of the value in kind that you invested on the platform. So whatever your share count was, he thinks you're going to get 80, 87 or 97, 98% of those total shares that you should have gotten at the end of it. And I hope he's right. We'll have to see how things play out, but we're watching it closely. Joey, he says, hey, Jake, I've heard you mention ALGO. What is your long-term, short-term price prediction? ALGO is going to be interesting. I think third world countries are going to adapt ALGO for their stablecoins. So a lot of South America and a lot of Africa, I think, are going to be on the ALGO blockchain or Algorand blockchain for their stablecoin. We'll have to see. We haven't seen what that's going to look like yet. But if that's the case, you could then estimate, the total GDP in those geographies, the total amount of payments that are being processed in those two geographies on those two continents, and extrapolate that out to the total supply of Algorand, and then back that into the price for what you think it's going to be over the long term as it gets adopted at scale to be able to move that value. We got Wetter. They say, legend. What's up? Who do you use at DWP for flying private? A lot of us XRP Army members are going to need a private aviation company in the near future. We actually have 3 different clients that own companies that charter private jets. So happy to make those intros as they are appropriate. Not to say that you're going to be wasting their time. We actually did take a private jet this year from New York to Vegas, and then Vegas back to Dallas when we went to that trip to XRP Vegas earlier this year. And it was fantastic. Price was fantastic. So we will highly recommend the people that we're working with and our client base to other clients, right? Like that's the other benefit of the mastermind and the community that we've built together is we have people that do all these things. And just like you have your expertise in your business and what you do, all these other people do too. And so we can kind of, there are communities, I won't name like religions or names, but they will pay more inside their own community to be able to support somebody versus going outside, even if it's better service and a better price. I'm not saying to do that. I like capitalism, but I think that, if you have warm introductions and good people to work with, sometimes it's okay to pay a little bit more, but sometimes they got you even better deal. So we have multiple options, I guess is what I'm getting at there, and happy to provide those for you as it makes sense. Mohammed is the #1 name globally. Jacob is #2 as of like 10 years ago. I haven't looked at that in a while. Just interesting. So my man, Mohammed, he says, will the mandatory shift to ISO 20022 have any impact on XRP? I've heard dates November 22nd thrown around. Thoughts? So ISO is a messaging standard. It is a precursor to instant settlement. It's not the same thing. Correlation does not always equal causation. Utilizing blockchain infrastructure on the XRPL and Stellar or Hyperledger that's compliant with ISO 20022. Those are the only two companies and the only two blockchains where that actually exists for that messaging system. So the blockchains themselves are not ISO compliant. It is a software and a system built on top of the blockchain that operates in that capacity using the underlying digital asset to settle real time alongside the messaging. So with that said, because I have to like caveat it, because if I don't, Matt Hamilton and all the other crazy people come on here and get up in arms about things. Not that Matt's crazy. Matt's all right. Probably said too much. He doesn't like me for some reason, and I'm not trying to start beef with Matt, so apologize. Anyway, back to the dates. I don't know. I think that the price has to be much higher for it to be used in that capacity. I mean, I know it does. So with that in mind, you know, I don't know that that date in particular is going to have any effect on the price itself. I think that it could happen previous to that or after that, independent of that date and that messaging system becoming mandatory for SWIFT and other international transactions. Scroll a little bit further up and then we will lock it down for tonight. We got Jake from Jason. He says, your opinion on the SHX. I actually made a whole video about it, my man. You should go watch the video that we have on the YouTube channel and check it out. James, dude, thank you for the super chat. You didn't have to spend that much. Thank you so much. He said, I'm very impressed with your business model. I have my LLC set up at DAG with the bank account at Mercury. Finished my onboarding with DWP, waiting on email instructions for transfer of assets. How can I get more info on the products and options with Digital Wealth Partners? You'll get assigned an advisor. And thank you so much for the kind words. Want to make sure your experience is good. And thank you for any patience and grace that you've had with us onboarding. We have onboarded a lot of people in a very short period of time after we dropped the minimum to 50,000. So the other products and solutions to be able to generate returns on your XRP or be able to borrow against it, your advisor will be able to provide that for you. And you should have an advisor in a very, within a week or two of getting onboarded. We're training a lot of people up. We've hired 10 people in the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure that you will get one of the better ones to work with. They're all pretty good. They're actually all great, to be honest with you. Rob says, hey, Jake, I think I saw a video with you saying it may come to us having to be in a business to keep our XRP. Thanks for all that you do. It's a possibility, right? So if they mandate that only businesses can use this technology or qualified clients, or they could easily put some stipulations around who can own XRP, especially if it's going to be the backbone of the financial system. Like, I'm very confident that it will be. It's not going to hurt you to have your assets in a corporation or a trust. I will say that. It's only going to benefit you. There's not a situation in my mind. And now, if you have it in a C Corp, and I talked to Aaron Grinhaus about this, because he was there in Florida, C Corp there can be issues with versus an LLC. So an LLC has equity units. It's passed through taxation. If you elect the S Corp election here in the US, different jurisdictions have different laws. Okay, so I'm just going to speak to the US. C Corp in the US has stock instead of equity units. If you are in a lawsuit, somebody can take control of the voting shares or stock in your corporation and liquidate assets to pay themselves back and then hand you back the useless stock. So that's why we hold assets in an LLC and not in a C Corp. Even though C Corps are taxed at 20%, there's no pass-through taxation. You're taxed at the corporate level and then again at the personal level. Those types of corporations can make sense depending on what you're doing, especially if you're trying to build for long-term value and exit and incentivizing employees to scale your business with you. C Corps or S Corps, S Corp not so much as C Corp, can make a lot of sense. S Corps cannot have trusts as an owner. They have to be individuals as an owner on the S Corp. So that's why we don't do that. And there's stock again. So equity units are going to be the better option to be able to have asset protection. Not so much for long-term valuation and exit of a company, but for tax benefits and for creditor protection, LLCs are better suited. All right. I'm going to grab one more super chat here and then we're going to wrap it up tonight. And again, if you guys want to join us over there in the mastermind, I'm not going to be able to make it tomorrow morning like I normally would. I will be at the Laughlin event. Super excited for that. And then, we will, I've got a couple more super chats here that Mike's shown me. So thank you, Mike. We'll grab these and we'll wrap it up. So, won't be on the town hall tomorrow morning, but we will be there Sunday. So if you want to join the mastermind, check that out. We'd love to have you. And again, the code is Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar. So last couple super chats here. We got James. We just went through that one. And thank you again for the super chat there. We got Rob Keith. He says, I think I saw a video with you saying XRP had to be in a business. We touched on that one. We got RAB006. He says, please check Discord DM when you get a chance. I have someone's reach out. Okay. I will say this. Some people, when you join the mastermind, if you don't turn off the messages, there are going to be people that message you. I will never message you. It is a scam. If on any social media platform, I'm just going to go ahead and say it this way. If I reach out to you, it is a scam. I do not contact people on Telegram or WhatsApp. Web3 is a scam. Flare airdrop is a scam. All that stuff. If you message us and me on my social media, we will respond to you. But I am not going to actively reach out and start a conversation with you. The only time that might happen is if you comment on something, and then, you're like, have a complaint. I do occasionally reach out to people on X that have a complaint, that comment something, because I do want to address it and I want them to be taken care of. And I don't necessarily want to air their stuff out or my stuff out in a public forum. So that's the only time that I will do it. But outside of that exception, I don't have time. I would love to have time to message everybody and have cool conversations. I'm working, I was up at 7 a.m. this morning and immediately was working, and it's going to be 11 p.m. and I'm just going to get off my live here, and I've worked the whole time. So, and probably have to follow up on some stuff till midnight, and then I will get some sleep, and we'll be back at it tomorrow morning when we go speak at Laughlin's event. Desmo, dude, thank you so much for the super chat, my man. He says, Beyond Broke Mastermind, DWP LLC here. Please stop replying to people asking if you're still bullish on your bet. Tell them that you will let them know when you're not, so stop asking. That's kind of what I did on the live tonight. When do you see lower interest rates for loans on XRP from Arch? Hats off to the tea lady, and hope you and your family are well. Thank you for everything. Thank you, man. Thank you for the super chat and the support. Lower rates from Arch. I will say this: at Swell, the banks are here. The banks are here. They're not here to provide wealth management for you. That's still way off. But they will loan on your stuff. And as these other people move into the ecosystem, I do think that you're going to see rates come down across the board because there's going to be more competition. And as assets appreciate in value, there'll be less risk associated with them, and they'll underwrite them at lower risk to be able to provide you better interest rates. We're going to work on some very low interest rates for XRP in the near future. I wish I could say more, but that is coming. I'm going to say the latest will be early Q1 of 2026. And then we got two more here. We got Crypto Kingdom. Thank you so much for the super chat, my man. He says, join Carbon 2. Love the value in the Discord. Shout out to my fiance, Laura, for agreeing to buy her own XRP for future target runs. Haha, to the moon. Shout out to Laura. It's always good to have your partner on your side when you're investing in this stuff. It can be very, very stressful if your spouse or your partner and you're not on the same page. So, hopefully, I'm sure people tell me all the time their spouse is tired of listening to me. Thank you for letting your spouse, if you are watching this, take time out of their day to watch this and get educated on stuff. I guarantee you they want the best for you and your family, and they're trying to educate themselves to put you and your children ahead of the curve and give you and your children more opportunity. And this is a way to do it. Again, not financial advice, but I think that you'll be very happy that they've taken the time to educate themselves and put you and your family in this position. So shout out to the spouses out there that are the ride or dies that are coming along on this crypto journey. We'll take one more, then we're gonna wrap it up. We got Booner Sooner. They say Mastermind member here. Awesome, dude. If we have enough to create an LLC but not custody, should we go ahead and get that done? Can we get all our ducks in a row through you guys? Is XLM and XDC worth the long hold? Also excited for the dinners. Oh yeah, I probably need to announce that. So we'll go through these one by one because you gave me a lot of them here. Thank you for being part of the mastermind. Yeah, being proactive and setting the LLC up. If you got $50,000 to $80,000 in crypto portfolio, awesome idea. Again, if you guys want to do that, you can use the code 50OFF, 50OFFDAGLLC. That's 50OFFDAGLLC, all capitalized. Gets you everything for your LLC for $2,000. If you have less than 50 to 80,000 in your crypto portfolio, don't spend the money on the LLC. Buy more crypto if you have another $2,000. Don't give it to us. It doesn't, like, cost to benefit's not there yet. Go buy more crypto or use it on something else. Educating yourself to get more skills so you can make more money. Like, there's a lot of other things outside of the LLC that you should be spending it on if you have less than $50,000 in crypto. If you have more than that, it starts to make sense. Absolutely great to be proactive instead of waiting to the last minute, seizing in a bank account, not being emotional when everything happens. I think that you're going to be much better positioned versus other people that are freaking out and on their back foot on the other side of price appreciation, which will happen very aggressively when it happens. XLM and XDC, I think, are great. I don't hold them personally, but we have a lot of clients that do, and we do see long-term value and appreciation on those. And then last but not least, we do have these dinners. I have a lot of people that want to book my time, which is awesome. Would love to meet you. We have our next dinner on December 9th. It is $5,000. You can bring your spouse. We put you up in a hotel room here in Dallas. We have a very nice dinner, and I go through everything end to end that we provide, and I'll answer any questions that you have there in front of everybody else, so that you get the most value, and you're going to meet other cool people that have crypto and a significant interest in things. We were, people were paying $5,000 for 30 minutes of my time. I have a hard time with that. Like, if I can't provide you at least $5,000 worth of value in that time frame, I have a hard time. So that's why we're doing it this way. You're gonna get some food, you get the hotel room. You and the wife come down to Dallas, have a good time. Or if it's a lady, your male friend, your husband, you and your spouse can come down to Dallas and enjoy a nice evening with us, and we'll go over everything when it comes to crypto for estate planning, wealth management, insurance, and all the other fun stuff that not necessarily the sexiest thing in the world, but if you do have kiddos, it's probably a good thing to think about. So if you want to do that, you can go to the website digitalfamilyoffice.io, and again, it's $5,000 for you and one other person. Doesn't have to be your spouse, could be your crypto buddy if you want to bring them. The limit is 20 people, and that is December 9th that we're going to have that event here in Dallas. So excited for that. And on that, I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys again so much. Shout out to everybody that joined the mastermind. I can't believe we're at 10,000 people there in the community. Humbled and blown away. Super grateful. Excited to be a part of it with you guys. Maybe we'll get some price appreciation. We'll just lock it down. That was kind of the number where I was like, all right, well, that's probably enough. So anyway, looking forward to seeing you guys in there. Again, if you want to join the community, the code is Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar, get you the first month for $2. If you need the LLC, give it to you one more time. 50 off, 50OFFDAGLLC. That's 50OFFDAGLLC. Get you everything you need for your LLC to manage your digital assets at digitalfamilyoffice.io. And then last but not least, if you do need the wealth management, we would love to work with you if you have at least 50,000 XRP or at least $500,000 in total portfolio value. We can earn returns on your XRP if you're accredited. get you lines of credit against it, do a lot of other fun stuff in the very, very near future that we're going to be able to announce here in Q4. So if that sounds cool, go to digitalwealthpartners.net, use the contact us form, and we'll reach out and we get you with an advisor. So if that's it, hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Friday night. We'll see you guys on the next one.